We are back in Playhouse Square, and there is an incredible award-winning show that these two gentlemen are a part of, The Life of Pi. John and Taha, thank you so much for being here with us.
Our pleasure.
Thank you for having us.
So tell me a little bit about, for people who think they know the story, tell us how you're bringing it to life on stage.
Life of Pi obviously has a lot of life behind it, no pun intended.
Yeah.
Starting out as a novel before becoming the award-winning film, and now bringing new life as a theatrical production. And I think we want to definitely prepare people for the expectation that this is a spectacle event. It has its own sort of translation that honors what Jan Martel wrote in the book while keeping its own theater magic to bring the story in a really new dynamic way, bringing animals to life with puppetry that John could speak a lot more about.
And so this was a real challenge because we're talking about, a young man and three giant kind of animals that are on stage.
Yeah.
How do you do that as a director of puppetry? How did you achieve that?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, with this story, with so many characters being animals, you can't train an actual real tiger to do what we needed to do 8 shows a week. So puppetry is, I feel, the best art form in which to achieve this. I think the puppeteers in our show are some of the most elite athletes that we've ever had. So.
And how big and how much do these puppets weigh?
Some of them, weigh like 35 pounds, but when you think of 35 pounds being held out like this for 2 hours, it becomes quite a lot.
Strength,
so,
for sure.
There's a lot of core strength, a lot of just overall strength, and a lot of flexibility needed.
Awkward positioning.
Yeah.
A lot of awkward positioning.
I'm sure. So how does this kind of take people away, and you don't even need to use your imagination? How does this really captivate people on stage?
The scale and the design, I think, that is so often just one of the biggest compliments of the show. The lighting, the sets, the music, the world that is created on stage night after night, independent of the puppets and the movement that's involved, really play this beautiful role in just weaving stories together. So as Pi is speaking about these different places that they go to, the world literally melds in and out or can crash together in really interesting ways.
Earlier we had that surprise visit from the tiger. How does that kind of dynamic work where it's like you have dialogue and they sort of have dialogue, but they're making sounds and noises and it's not a musical, but it is. How do you balance that different dynamic that you wouldn't normally have on stage? You'd be speaking to each other as actors,
I mean, I think that's the beautiful thing about Richard Parker is he's treated as an actor. He is a character in the show, and although it takes 3 people to bring him to life, he is an actor in the show. He is Taha playing Pi's acting partner. So he may not have lines of dialogue in the sense of words that we can understand, but his energy changes, the way that he makes sounds and moves across the stage is just like any other actor would.
So it was really interesting to hear from the people, I don't want to say behind the puppets, inside them, really working them.
I have to go from the head to the tail. The tail, if it needs to flick to give an extra part of that thought, I have to give space for that.
There's something we talk about when we're training called ball passing. And what that means is that there's an initial thought in the tiger in the head, and that thought gets passed down into the body of the tiger, and then that gets passed down to the hind, and then the hind sort of sends it back. And so you won't notice any of that really when you're watching, but there is that element of the ball passing all the way back and then all the way back up to, let's say, do a sit or to do a leap. And it eventually all flows together so well that you don't notice that it's happening. But when we're training, we have to break it down into those pieces to make sure we're all together.
So who is this show best suited for, and who will this really, speak to? Is it for kids? Would kids enjoy this?
The animals in our show are animals, and we treat them as such. So they act accordingly. Perhaps when a tiger sees a goat, he may act like a tiger seeing a goat.
Okay.
So I will say, yeah, perhaps. So I always say, I think parents and guardians know their children best. So if they are intrigued with puppetry, if they love the Nature Channel and they love seeing what animals really do, then by all means, I think they should definitely come and see us. I think it's for people who love different kinds of storytelling, different kinds of theater.
Just the different production value of this. If you're, I don't want to say a student of it, but an appreciator of those kind of things, this would definitely be a show for you. How How tired are you in terms of like how physically exhausting is this in the scale, you know, the calendar of what you guys are doing? Like, you still got all the energy for the rest of the run?
Yeah. There are a lot of preventative measures and a lot of proactiveness that you have to keep this engine running, right? and to keep all of this functioning. And so for myself and the puppeteers, you know, everybody that does this, it is a marathon and sprints in between, you know? So I think there's accountability to each other, there's accountability to the show for us to really take care of ourselves, take care of each other, and so far so good. Surprisingly, the physical is less intense than the vocal for myself.
I'm sure.
But you know, I think it's a give and take, and we're finding our way day by day.
All right, well, Life of Pi is here at Playhouse Square until January 26th, so go see these guys.